So while trying to check one or two things, I stumbled upon this case we would have seen, I think last year or last 2 years, you get on Daily Mail and The Guardian and some other blogs or news outlets from the UK and India and whichever part. So I saw the allegations, the findings, the whole tribunal hearing details, and I think it would be nice to share. So as at the time the whole case was out, it was more of like a an Indian person who moved into the UK and tried to cheat into the system, but couldn't do the basic radiography procedure and processes that it's required of the person to have known before registering with the board and every other thing. We saw like the whole thing of the person not knowing how to do the basic foot X-ray, but it wasn't even only that. There are more to the story. So looking at the whole thing from the tribunal service page, you see the whole background, allegations, the findings, and whatever. So number one of the allegations states that on or around one or more of the following dates, she was unable to answer basic questions about radiography process and procedures, and she wasn't able to successfully complete a scenario procedure. So the dates are 10th of March 2023 and 20th of April 2023. So the second one is between the 1st of January 2023 and June 30th 2023, she wasn't able to demonstrate the required level of competence in the following area: basic radiography studies, which is the X-ray of the hand and the foot, identification of basic anatomy, following required guidelines, setting up the X-ray machines, usage of contrast, communication with patients, which is very, very paramount. And so that's for the second one. Then the third one, she failed to successfully complete the mandatory immediate life support course, which is very, very, very important. So the fourth one borders around her misrepresenting her English language proficiency when applying to join the HCPC register, her level of experience, training, qualification when applying for a general radiographer role at Ramsey Healthcare. Ramsey Healthcare is the healthcare provider, but where she actually worked was at North Downs Hospital. So the fifth one, her conduct was dishonest. The sixth one, then this particular 1 to 3, you find them in the findings you get. Then the particular 4 to 5, you also find them in the findings of the tribunal. And then the final one, which is number 8, that be the reason of the matter set out above, her fitness to practice is impaired by the reason of misconduct and lack of competence. So let's now move into the findings. So looking at the backgrounds of the finding, it tells you that the registrant entered the ACPC register through the international application route. The person trained in India, and the application happened around the 5th of July 2021. And she also declared English as her first language. Employed by Ramsey Healthcare as a radiographer to work at North Downs Hospital, Chatterham. She worked from January 2023 until her resignation around the 24th of April 2023. She was actually interviewed, offered the role around April 2022, but for various reasons, she was unable to start her employment until January 2023. So on arriving in the hospital, she was assigned to someone, another radiographer, Mr. Richel, who would like help her get hands on most of the things. When Mr. Richel is not around, she also has Miss Eve around to also supervise her and everything. So her manager, Mr. Pinto, he arranged everything for Mr. Richel and Miss Eve to help the new registrant um get abreast with whatever the department, like the departmental protocols and every other thing. So here is Mr. Pinto's statement, quote and unquote. Miss Johnny would be expected to work alone at some point in her employment. Generally, I would expect a radiographer who had been employed for 3 months to be working alone for at least part of their shift. The time frame for when I would expect a radiographer to work independently depends on the progress of the individual. At the point of her 3 months review, it was clear that Miss Johnny was not capable of working unsupervised, as the registrant claimed to have 23 years of experience on her CV. I would have expected her to have been a more competent radiographer. Full stop. It was also stated that after commencing employment at the hospital, Ms. Johnny was issued with competency documents, and It was supposed to be reviewed alongside Mr. Pinto after 3 months, but Mr. Pinto didn't have that opportunity to review that because she resigned before the time for the whole probation period ended. So when the whole concern started coming up, Mr. Pinto said the registrant claimed that the gaps were due to the fact that she was working as a CT radiographer in India and not in X-ray. So she needed more of like she needed time to like catch up with the whole X-ray examination procedures and everything. So at the end of the 3 months review on the 20th of April 2023, Mr. Pinto explained to Miss Johnny that in light of her mistakes and the lack of knowledge, she would no longer be allowed to practice as a radiographer in the hospital, not even under supervision. She would be put on authorized leave that would be followed by an investigation and or termination of her contract. However, on the 24th of April 2023, Ms. Johnny gave in her notice to the hospital, a notice of resignation. So on the 26th of April 2023, the SCPC received a referral from the hospital. The referral raised concerns about Ms. Johnny's command of English, poor performance, and lack of professional knowledge, which persisted despite additional support being provided. The specific concerns are also detailed in the allegations, like the allegations I read before the findings. So, in line with their sponsor license holder responsibility, the hospital contacted the Home Office to advise them that the registrant's employment with the hospital ended on the 24th of April 2023, which accordingly the registrant was required to leave the UK within 60 days from the end of her employment. So, this shows that she got the employment from India and she was sponsored to the UK to practice. But since it ended on 24th of April, she was now required to like move out of the UK as part of the sponsor license holder responsibility. Number 50 and 51 also highlights where Miss Johnny dropped some observation she made during the early stage of the proceedings, where she accused the workplace of racism and how she felt uncomfortable for some time, and how she was asked to use the X-ray machine on the first day of work, of which she felt she would have been under supervision for the first 6 months, and how after she left the UK, how she had been in quite a bad way while in India. So she also talked about how no patient had complained about her, how she had been nice and polite to all the patients, and how she feels like the hospital wants to take some other staff, so they compelled her to resign and so on. She also talked about how she had taken the IELTS language test and scored 5.5 in speaking, writing, and listening. And all of this, Miss John is saying, it's a good one for you to know that she never really honored the panel. She was reached out to after she had moved back to India so she can clear up everything before the panel. But on the first day, it was just a brief meetup. Then when the main sitting was supposed to happen, she started giving excuses of how she needed to go to the hospital and everything, and so everything ended just that way. So the proceeding took place without her being present. You understand? I feel like she tried to evade everything. So as it stands, I don't think she can practice in the UK again, or any bordering nation attached to the UK, or like I think she will just have to just do whatever she wants to do in India. This is a good one to read, especially if you have in mind to practice outside your country. There will surely be one or two things you can pick out from the whole allegations, the findings, the proceedings, and everything. The whole breakdown is actually on the platform. So I'll be attaching the link to the comment section. Thank you.